But you'll only see it when the sun goes down. When there is no moon and things get scary, you'll hear him tack it up in the cemetery. He'll race anyone for a pint of juice, so you better watch out for Dracula's deuce. It's a Boris custom-painted metal flake black, and he buries it all the competition.
That's right. It's Halloween time here in the Stogie Geek studio. And we are back live on the show with the regular cast and crew talking about pairings. So I wanted to throw it out to you guys. What do you think about pairings with beer? Talk about that amongst yourselves while I light up my other cigar here.
What do you mean? Like what you like? Do you like?
Yeah.
pairing?
What kind of things? What kind of beers do you like to pair with? Certainly, there's got to be some that you like to pair with.
The Belgian beers. I like pairing with
Yes.
cigar.
Yes.
I think we all agree this is like a beaten path. IPAs. I just don't get that. That's one thing I don't.
I still
get.
can't get into that.
Me neither.
I personally love IPAs, and they're my favorite type of beer, which is troubling to me because it's the absolute worst, hands down, by far, worst type of beer to pair a cigar with.
I'll tell you one of my favorite pairings, and I did it by mistake. And we had the rep come in. I don't know how, Coop, you can help me with this. Was the when I did the Oktoberfest, they said they did that with Oktoberfest beer, especially the Paulaner. Paulaner and Oktoberfest, those two go hand in hand with me.
Now we had Warsteiner Oktoberfest when we did the big episode on Friday.
That was good.
Yeah, that was a good pairing. So I've got this article from Cigars@about.com, and they go through the top 7 alcoholic drinks to accompany cigars. Number 7 on their list is India Pale Ale.
Oh.
Beer drinkers should usually pair a mild cigar with their favorite draft, but an India Pale Ale or an IPA can accompany most any cigar, even fuller flavored sticks. According to Bryce Eddings on About.com's Guide to Beer, few beers have the stuff to stand up to a cigar and are not overwhelmed by the bitter hops an IPA can shine through brightly with a cigar.
I could not disagree with that more.
I just, his assessment, maybe he enjoys it, good for him. I just don't get it.
I didn't get it either.
I don't get it either. Put that lighter,
Look at
please.
this thing.
One of the things that I love about IPAs is that bitter hoppiness that's balanced with the fruity flavors that are in it. And a bitter quality to it really just makes cigars taste like crap.
I agree.
The best way I can put it, it's like getting a big, heavy Isla Scotch and lighting up a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. God, this thing is smoking like crazy. Look at this thing.
So also on here, he's got martinis, which I don't think that would pair well with a cigar.
No, that's retarded too.
Yep.
I read that list, and what did I send you, Paul, in the email? It was has this guy ever smoked a cigar?
Well, also he says a stinger, which is a mixture of cream, de mint, and brandy.
Oh, that's unbelievable. No, what is this guy doing?
Kahlua drinks, I would never pair with a cigar.
He must be.
Absolutely not. He specifically mentioned a White Russian. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, for all of us that are out there that drink, which I would assume are most of us at this point,
you almost have to drink to listen to this show.
Yeah, it makes sense to listen to us.
It's cream, vodka, and Kahlua. Okay?
Caca.
If there's anything that I could imagine that would be second only to worst with a cigar, would be cream. It's literally going to coat your mouth with this film, and you're not going to taste anything. Nothing.
Now, Mark Jr. is, I think, very well educated on this topic. He's what I would probably term as a foodie, right? He likes some of the more little eclectic restaurants here in Rhode Island. Yeah. I think your knowledge of various different kinds of drinks, Mark Jr., is very well versed, especially when paired with cigars. And I think the only two on this list that he hit are coffee and scotch, we've talked about ad nauseum. But you've got some great recommendations for cocktails, and I've taken your advice on several occasions and been pleasantly surprised. And a couple of those drinks are, scotch and soda and old-fashioned. So and if you want to tell our listeners maybe some of your background and about, picking out some of those pairings.
Well, I kind of, when I look for a pairing for a cigar, I kind of try and get something that's going to be a little muted, maybe a little bit on the sweet side, but not something that's going to be overly spicy or tremendously, how would you say, full flavored, right? Like Sogi's saying, to touch on it briefly. Scotch is great, but you really have to look at it regionally as to what's going to pair well with the cigar, right? So there's 4 major Scotch regions. There's Islay, there's Highland, there's the Speyside. I'm blanking out, and Campbelltown, right? So like, if it was any of those that doesn't pair well, it's obviously Islay, right? Islay is phenomenal, and I love it, especially after a full meal. It really like settles your stomach, and it's got this wonderful like full flavor to it that's gonna be appropriate for that time. But it's like horrible for cigars, On the opposite side, though, I think Speysides perform beautifully with cigars. Your Balwinnies or your Glenfiddiches or anything like that, and that's kind of how I tend to go with that. And that's also why I like Scotch and soda. Scotch and soda, you're not going to typically buy your more full-flavored scotches this way because it's going to kind of water it down a little bit. But what that soda does is it brings out a little bit of the sweetness of the scotch, and it tends to pair well with a smoke,
Stogie Santa just lit up a cigar, and it is producing an obnoxious amount of smoke.
What did you light up?
The Nika Rustica. Yeah. The oils that are permeating off this. I had that at the show.
Hold that up for the camera.
Look at that.
Hey, look at the smoke coming off that cigar. It's unreal. Hey, let me show the guys on Skype.
That's a Drew Estate cigar, isn't it?
Yeah, you guys got to see this. Look at that. Do you see that?
That's unbelievable.
That's a lot of smoke coming off that cigar.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mark Jr., I really like old fashions paired with a cigar.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And we've talked about those a lot. Are there other kind of bitter drinks, drinks that have bitters in them that maybe mix bourbon and scotch with them that you'd put up on that list?
There's not a lot that I come to mind immediately. I definitely think the best thing in that realm is the old fashioned. It's bourbon with a muddled mixture of orange and cherries with some Angostura bitters, which gives it like a nice dark orange type flavor, and then it's finished with a twist of lime. I think that's really the best cocktail to pair with a cigar.
I agree.
And as that drink gets a little, the ice gets a little melted, that drink really comes together a little bit, and it's. I think if you have never tried an old fashioned, try one, and then try one with a smoke, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, the problem with that drink is it goes down really fast.
Oh yeah.
So if you've got a 2 hour smoke and you're drinking old fashions, if you got 2 or 3 or 4 of those, forget it. You're gonna be on your face.
Oh,
Ben, who was on a lot of our shows a while back, has moved away, but he said it the best way to me. An old fashioned is the best way possible to hide a shit ton of bourbon in a cocktail. Like you can just turn the bottle over and just start pouring it in, and no matter how much you put in, it's.
Well, remember my 13th birthday party?
Oh, yeah.
Mark,
your 13th birthday party.
13th.
Oh my God!
He kind of did act like he was 13 towards the end of the night.
You couldn't even find your way out of the place.
No, that was Ben's going away party.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
I can't remember that.
Ben's going away party.
Yeah, that's when Mox has tried that, and I did with the Scott. It was great. Paul was in the backyard of this bar, and he couldn't find his way out.
You shouldn't be let go home if you can't find your way around the bar.
For the listeners out there that are familiar with this term, we were white girl drunk.
But the thing about the old fashioned, I hate to keep harping on it, but I'm going to because it's my pick for a cocktail to pair with a cigar. And everyone that listens to the show, I'm assuming, is a cigar smoker. And if you are a drinker or enjoy a cocktail with a cigar, the old fashioned has the balance, right? It's got the bitter. It's got the sweet. It mixes in a little bit of
Oh, yeah.
bourbon. It's got the fruit and a little bit of, soda water and lime. And all those things come together the very same way that I think a really good cigar comes together. And it's those balance and mixture of flavors and sweetness and bitter and spice and all that stuff that kind of comes together. So pairing that with a cigar, I think, is it's on the tops of my list.
Oh, yeah.
It's very similar to a cigar in the way, too, that the drink, as you drink it, changes a little bit,
It does,
too.
yes.
Which, it has that, like, more of a harsh alcohol taste in the beginning. And then, as I said, the ice melts, that sweetness really starts to come out a little bit, and it's quite good.
Okay, so the other article that I had in here was tastes and flavors of cigars. How closely do you guys relate the flavors you get from a cigar to things like food or dessert or fruit or things like that?
I'll kind of take that.
Go ahead,
one
Will.
to start. I do, and it's a thing. As a reviewer, we get critiqued on quite a bit, but I do it more to paint a picture. Because I don't know how else. I think the analogies are the easiest thing to do it. I'm not saying it's a substitute. When I say something has chocolate in it, or red pepper maybe is a little more realistic. But it's a way to paint the picture to my reader, at least, that this is what I'm getting from that. So I use it as an analogy.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we haven't chewed on leather before, right? Maybe you have. I don't know, but
could you imagine if you did chew on leather? I think we could sense what it probably will taste like.
yeah, it's all about the senses.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
because that one I get a lot. How can you say it's leather or earth when you've never had? Well, chances are, my gut will tell me what it is if I put those things in my mouth.
Are there food pairings that you would do with cigar, or is that not a valid pairing?
I wouldn't do that. Well, for me, I wouldn't want to do it. It would take away the essence of the cigar.
Yeah.
That's me. I don't know.
In fact, before we do this show, I make sure I don't have anything with a lot. I have pretty bland dinner before I come into this show. Because I don't want any heavy spice on it or any over sweetness from a dessert.
Right,
because
exactly.
I want the palate as clean as possible. And usually I'm on my third smoke by the time I come in here anyway.
Yeah.
Now, they also say in this article that 75% of taste is smell. Do you agree with that?
Well, that goes hand in hand.
It does.
Because what you're smelling is what what you think you're tasting anyway.
Yeah. It definitely plays into the senses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get the room aroma from a cigar? Now, the cigar you're smoking right now, Stogie Santa, you're going to get a very thick room aroma because it's putting off so much smoke from that thing.
Chewy cigar. I mean, this is more chewy than a Liga 9. I've never had anything like this as chewy this. So, absolutely.
Room aroma plays into it, right? Because as you say, smell factors into taste.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're smelling off the cigar is obviously going to affect the taste of it as well. Let's talk about cigar sickness really quick.
God, that's...
You don't want to talk about cigar sickness? You shouldn't get sick when you smoke a cigar. Obviously,
I think,
right?
Well,
that detracts from the experience, no?
No, I think two things come in hand with cigar sickness. Not choosing the right cigar and smoking it too fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the two. That's the two things. I don't know how you gentlemen feel. What happens is someone that's a novice in a cigar smoking and picks up the wrong cigar can easily get over. If it's a heavy nicotine cigar or Lajero in it or something like that, it's going to blow them away. But on that sense, and you get someone who's maybe smoked 4 or 5 a week and he's taking it down like a cigarette, he's going to get sick.
Yeah.
Those are two major, in my opinion, two of the major reasons of getting sick.
Yeah, drawing too hard and smoking too fast.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And then, like if you like retrohaling, I always tell people when you first try to do that, expel 75% of the smoke before you retrohale.
Yep.
Don't retrohale the whole thing. That's good advice.
It really is. I mean, after a while, when you'll pick that percentage of smoke to retrohale. Mm-hmm. You may do 50. Coop may do 80. Mark may do 40. I may do 10. Whatever. The retrohale on a cigar, to me, is the most important part of the smoke.
And that's a good point, Stogie Santa, is that you should kind of, once you get the hang of retrohaling, experiment with the amount of the smoke you take in.
Oh, absolutely.
How much of that is retrohaled versus how much of that is blown out through your mouth. I think that's a really good point that we've never really explored on the show.
Yeah.
And that's something great to experiment with and find your comfort level and vary that up a little bit as you kind of smoke the cigar.
And that's when people would ask me, what is that retrohale? I explain it, and I tell them, try to expel as much smoke as you can out, and then just try just a little
bit at first.
And you're going to change. That cigar is going to, you're going to pick up nuances. What's the most sensitive? Well, to me, I can sense of smell. So when you come through, you're going to pick up a lot of different flavors. And well, that's how I feel.
No, well, you review a ton of cigars, of course, on cigar-coop.com. But what's your kind of? Do you have a strategy for how, when you're reviewing a cigar and you're smoking a couple of them? Do you kind of play around with that retrohale?
Yeah, I look at the retrohale. I kind of treat it as a secondary thing in the flavor profile, but it's still an important part of it. In fact, at first I probably didn't pay as much attention to it as I should have. And then it was something as I reviewed, I discovered it could change up things because it adds what I'd say that second dimension. And so it's not just what you're getting on the tongue, but you're getting that through down the nasal passages.
Yeah.
And then you can look at some retrohales, and a lot of them tend to be on the spicy side. But then there's, you could get these layered ones where you get some nut in there. Sometimes you can get a little cocoa in there. And it really just, I think it adds to the whole experience of the cigar. It completes it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because that's a great point. You're saying people don't realize how much you realize that you're picking up on you got different senses from the front and your back of your tongue. Big differences.
Yep.
I want to go back to some of the pairings, and I had some notes on pairings. I find that, and we lost Mark Jr., but I find that tea with no sugar, to me, has the same effect as water. It doesn't affect the flavors of the cigars as you are experiencing them, but does enough to moisten your palate without, again, affecting those flavors. Do you guys find the same thing?
Well, I'll take that. I find with coffee, you'll find that when you drink coffee black, you'll pick up more nuances of it, and it actually it brings more of a cigar out. When I do it with milk, I don't do milk anymore. It mutes the flavors of what you're doing.
Sometimes I get this weird craving for a latte, right? And that, of course, has milk in it, steamed milk inside of the espresso, right? That's a latte. I find that pairs horribly with a cigar. And I love the flavors that you pick up when you have a latte. I think it kind of changes that flavor profile of the espresso versus drinking it straight. But I find it just pairs horribly. It leaves this tart kind of something goes on in your palate where it does not pair well with it. And I really want a latte to pair well with a cigar, and it just doesn't.
It doesn't. We were just talking about the cream factor early on, and I think it's the same thing. There's a coating that's a heavier liquid, and it's gonna,
no, that's a
great point.
It's a great point, Will.
It does.
I've had some raspberry tea recently that actually I was talking about when we made our appearance this evening on Cigar Chat. You can find them at Cigar Federation and listen to the Cigar Chat podcast. And Will and I and Stogie Santa came in at the end as well. And we were talking a little bit about what we like to drink, when we have a cigar. And Logan was mentioning sweet tea. I had some raspberry sweet tea that I actually got from the milkman, and people kind of look at me funny, like, "What do you mean? You still have a milkman?" So like that's a thing of the past, right? I think the milkman is great, but the raspberry tea and the eggnog from the milkman is awesome, right? I wouldn't pair that with a cigar either.
And the lemonade too.
Yeah, the lemonade is awesome.
Isn't it?
Yes, and the raspberry tea is awesome, but just not with a cigar. Yeah. I tried that today because a lot of people, and I think it's a lot of the cigar folks that are from the South that are into that sweet tea kind of thing. And sweet tea is awesome, and you live in North Carolina.
The green tea,
Will, right? Sweet tea is like a big thing down there.
And it's different. Apparently, the way it's made is different because it's sweetened. I may get this wrong. It's sweetened, I think, while it's brewing.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
They put the sugar in the tea leaves, and they even some of them brew it in the sun. You take a big pot,
that's a
put the tea leaves in the sun with the sugar in it.
You get more flavor.
Yeah, I know. I agree. But the raspberry tea that came from the milkman, it left some kind of aftertaste in your mouth. Does not pair well with a cigar at all. And as Stogie Santa said, I think coffee black is universal.
Oh,
I've yet to find a cigar that does not complement in a coffee that, good coffee that doesn't complement a cigar. I think that's a great pairing.
Yeah.
Soda tends to be somewhere in the middle for me. If you get a really sugary soda, it's not going to pair
I'm just
well.
not a soda guy.
No, I'm not a big soda person either. Every once in a while, I get this craving for like a Diet Coke or a Diet Dr. Pepper. And it's not horrible with a cigar. I don't think it destroys it for me, at least that much. But it can overpower that really sugary kind of soda thing. Even in a diet soda will tend to overpower the cigar. And I think interfere with it in some way. And really any type of juice does not work.
Oh, please.
No kind of juice.
What was that idiot with the orange
Orange juice. Yeah, and he puked orange juice all over in the lounge.
Oh.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
Whatever. I don't.
Stay away from the juices.
Absolutely.
So
no.
that was all I had on pairings. Anyone else have anything you want to add on pairings?
One thing, just and I've talked to Jose Blanco, who was on the show a few weeks ago. But one thing he mentioned, actually, it's not a pairing thing, but just as far as tonic water goes, that's a great palate cleanser. And he was the one who kind of turned me on to it. And if you need to kind of ever clear your palate, tonic water, it will do it.
Chocolate also.
Yeah,
Really?
no, it's a great point. I've done the like almonds coated in chocolate is a great way to cleanse your palate.
Yeah.
Almonds by themselves will cleanse your palate. The chocolate almost adds a little bit of flavor to your palate while you're having a cigar.
You don't want a sweet like almond joy type thing. You know
no,
what I mean?
you want like a dark chocolate covered in the almond.
Yep.
You can find those in your local grocery stores. In fact, there's the place that I get them is kind of weird. It's a Trader Joe's. Near us.
Yeah.
They've got the best, chocolate covered almonds in various different kinds
and
of
they're
nuts.
not sticky sweet. They're perfect.
Yeah, and they're not expensive. It's a great way in between cigars. Like I almost, in fact, we probably had some. I probably should have ate some before I switched cigars and went from the Ezra Zion to an Aging Room Maduro, which is very, very good.
Another way to cleanse your sensories in your nose too, coffee beans. Smell coffee beans. Seriously, that's another way to cleanse, not your palate, but your smell of different things. I do that when I go in. Yeah. Oh yeah. Try it sometime. It really works. It really makes a difference because I'm a coffee snob. I do all my own roasting, grinding, and blah blah blah. But it's really it's unique.
Excellent.
Anything else?
Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Want to remind everyone we did a show last week for Wings for Warriors. That's wingsforwarriors.org. Please go there and donate. It's been a fantastic show. We had a kind of marathon show. We hadn't had a marathon show in a while. Glad we did that. Thanks to the guys from Ezra Zion.
Absolutely.
Coming
great
on the
segment.
show. Yeah, great segment with them. We talked about a lot of great smokes of the week, a lot of good things that we're Will, is there anything you want to tease about your blog that's coming up?
Let's see. There's probably going to be a cigar from Rocky Patel coming up. There'll probably be a cigar, some more of the Christoph stuff coming up as well.
Nice.
So stay tuned for that, and of course there'll be some news information trickling in throughout the week. I'm going to be on Kiss My Ash Radio this Saturday.
Oh, is that this Saturday? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't figured out what I'm going to review for that yet.
Nice.
So I have to think. I just found out about that today. So check those guys out.
Yep.
Next week we have Dylan Austin on the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
That Camacho.
From Camacho. Thank you.
Yeah, and he's the guy behind the rebranding of this thing, which I got to say.
Yeah, we've talked about. Yeah.
This Camacho is one of the comeback stories of the year.
Absolutely.
Whether you like the cigars or not, this has been a huge comeback story.
And
next week we're going to smoke an Unbanded from Will, which I have in my humidor. I'm going to let that rest for the entire week in my humidor, and we'll smoke that next week. Unbanded #1 from Will, which he just sent me. And I do have to say the Ezra Zion that we smoked tonight was overnighted from Will.
Oh, thank
you.
They
just came in the mail today. It sat in my humidor for a couple of hours, and we smoked it on the show
and you
tonight.
know it's going to be even better. Well, are you going to hang around for a couple of minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to.
We're going to do an after-show party.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to join the CRA, Cigar Rights of America, and visit our website, stogiegeeks.com and cigar-coop.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see everyone next week. We'll have Dylan Austin from Camacho Cigars, and we're going to smoke Unbanded #1 from Mr. Will Cooper. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
I don't want to live my life again. I don't want to be buried in a big cemetery. I don't want to live my life again. Oh no. Oh no. I don't want to live my life.